If you enjoy our videos and podcasts and would like us to continue putting out regular quality content, head over to patreon.com/aircrewinterview, where you can donate monthly, and in return you will get rewards ranging from early interview viewings, bonus clips, credited as a producer, and much more. Thank you and enjoy. Obviously, a lot of people like now they say like, "Oh, air shows like we're at is not as good back in like the Milton halls." Would you disagree with that or agree with that?
Well, of course, Milton Hall doesn't. They
don't even do
anymore.
them, yeah.
No, I'm not sure that I would. I mean, you know, sort of always what one remembers. What one remembers is always best. But I still think take RIAT. I mean, when they have it. The air display still runs from 9:30 in the morning till 6 o'clock in the evening, and they still have much of what they've had over the years. Some great fighters, some great formations, and some great bits of everything.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that I'd agree with that. And personally, I think, I mean, I take Duxford, where I'm particularly involved with. I think the air shows at Duxford, quite frankly, have got better and better.
Yeah. Because they have a couple during the year, don't they? I think
they have three 2-day shows. That might be changing. I mean, funny enough, we were going to be having a Battle of Britain air display at Duxford this weekend.
Yeah. Which
was going to be the first air display this year. It's going to be a 3-day show, but unfortunately that's now been cancelled as well.
Yeah.
But Duxford is always special at Battle of Britain days, because you see things like formations of, shall we say, 20 Spitfires.
Yeah, you're not going to see that anywhere else.
That is a special thing to watch.
Yeah. Is it Flying Legends? Is that the one?
Yeah, Flying Legends, which again is unlikely to happen at Duxford again in the future. But that's a special air show as well. And at the end of Flying Legends, they always have, it's closed by a Balbo. I.e. all those aircraft that have been performing there then go into a Balbo formation, which is always a fantastic sight.
You certainly get your money's worth for that.
You get your money's worth, yeah.
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times, because I think, if I remember rightly, one was more of a, not a fast jet show, but the one was like just dedicated to warbirds, and one had like the Red Arrows, Typhoon, and maybe an F-16. I don't know, I can't remember what the
Flying Legends is warbirds.
Right, okay.
And the other shows tend to be like Battle of Britain is, it's a mixture. The other two shows, they're more of a mixture. But the one thing that they do, because there's a lot of warbirds based at Duxford, and they have an arrangement there. They're known as partners of the Imperial War Museum Duxford, and part of the arrangement for them being based there is that they contribute to the air shows.
Oh, right.
So you'll see a lot of warbirds at Duxford. Duxford to me is a very special place. I just love going there because it's a World War II airfield. It's a Battle of Britain airfield. It's really unspoilt from what it looked like in World War II. Yeah. And it's just a lovely setting, and you can just imagine, I just imagine what it must have been sort of back in the old Spitfire scrambling days.
Even the old control tower, absolutely. I love that.
Yep, it's all there.
And like, I love in Duxford as well, there's like the working hangars, so they're actually being, like all the spits and whatever are being worked on, which is really nice, nice touch.
There's a lot to see there, and you know, what with the general activities, you any day you go there, you might see a Spitfire flying, you might see a Hurricane flying, you might see something else. But you've always got the airspace hangar to go to, where they've got all sorts of fantastic aircraft there, ranging from Concorde downwards, or they've got the American museum there too, down in the other big hangar, where they've got an SR-71, they've got a B-52, they've got some fantastic aircraft there. Yeah,
I think people travel around from around the globe just to come to that museum because it's so unique. But like, there's obviously some big ones in America. Have you ever been to any of them museums over there?
I have. Yep. I lived in America for 2 years when I was one of the air attaches in the embassy in Washington. And yes, I used to travel around America a lot, and been to the Smithsonian, for example.
Yeah, that looks amazing. That looks
like
a good one.
And been to another big museum down at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. I mean, the one thing about the Americans, wherever you go, it's big.
Yeah, they do it bigger than us, obviously. Yeah.
And I must have been talking about the Americans. I've been talking about big. In the first Gulf War in 1990, I was station commander at Leeming at the time, and I was the first commander to be deployed out to Saudi Arabia, as it was. And I went there with 1 hour's notice. I was based in Dhahran in Saudi Arabia, and there was a triumvirate of commanders there. There was the Saudi commander, who I knew because he was an ex-Lightning pilot, Saudi Prince. There was an American there, and the F-15s were there from the US, who I worked with, and then I was commanding the Tornadoes there. It was fascinating. We were there, I was there shortly after the invasion of Kuwait, and shall we say, the first couple of months of being there were absolutely fascinating. They were also very tense, I don't mind saying that, because we had very little there, you know. We didn't know what was going to happen, and so the next few months you'd see resources being poured into Dhahran 24 hours a day.
Really?
When I mean that, I mean the RAF would fly in sort of a few Hercules a day. The Americans would fly in every 20 minutes. You get a 747 from the States coming in and offloading troops, helicopters, goodness knows what more. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, it was super impressive what the Americans were doing there. And I thought, if anybody doubts that America is a superpower, they just want to see what's going on down there.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But it was great. Well, not great, but like obviously there was so much TV coverage, people got to kind of see that.
Yeah.
But how many Tornadoes were down there?
Initially, we had 12. We had two squadrons. Just so happened, when it was decided that the UK government decided they were going to send Tornadoes down to the Gulf, we had 2 squadrons on changeover in Cyprus, number 5 and 29 Squadron. And I was at Leeming, and I was going to command the whole lot. So the decision was choose 12 aircraft from Cyprus. So as I went through Cyprus, we stopped there for a refuel, and I briefed the squadron commanders before flying on to Saudi Arabia. They brought the aircraft down 24 hours later, right. And they were on state more or less straight away. Then I won't go into the detail, but we increased the number down at that stage very quickly up to 18, and we also replaced the aircraft that we took down there from Cyprus with aircraft, more capable aircraft, which we modified back at Leeming, in fact. All sorts of new modifications were put on, ready for what they were going to be prepared. And then, because the aircraft we had down there, I don't mind telling you, they were deficient at the time. They were not, whatever one says.
I've heard like conflicting stories, but yeah. So like because I think they always were we there just like for a presence rather than, so would they always direct the F-15s if there was a general threat then, I'm guessing?
I think at the time it was we were always fighting to get our aircraft up to the right operational modification standard, and it was always a fight until you get something like that happens, when you get what you want very quickly. You need it straight away. Well, I think we learned from that, quite frankly, and ever since then, because remember at that stage we'd just come out of the Cold War, and I think there was a bit of an attitude around, sort of, well, the Cold War's over now, and we don't see
anyone else as a threat.
We don't see a big threat out there. And then lo and behold, you ought to be prepared for the unprepared. Saddam Hussein goes and invades Kuwait, and that started, but what's turned out to be a long involvement with the region. And you know, we learned very quickly that you can't drop your guard at all. You've got to keep your aircraft right at the right state of operational readiness. Yeah.
So, do you think the Tornado performed well over there, would you say?
It did everything that was asked of it, yeah.
And what was it, just caps, I'm guessing?
Yeah, caps, combat air patrol.
Yeah. Because I've heard like many stories. I've seen some cool photos. Because I think I've interviewed a few. Obviously, Ian Black was over there. I think.
And they were down there because I was there, and the 29 and 5 Squadron, which were basically part of the Coningsby wing, they came back, and then my boys came out from Leeming. They came out as a composite wing of 3 squadrons. I had 11, 23 and 25 at Leeming. So the crews I had most of my time in the Gulf were from those squadrons, and Ian Black was one of them. Yeah.
So how long did the Tornado spend over there?
Well, it was there until it didn't come back for years, quite frankly. Because I mean, what did happen, the crews were changed over, and obviously as time went on, aircraft were changed over for a variety of reasons, but the Tornado itself stayed there.
Yeah. So going back to the airshow scene, this is going to sound really nerdy here, right? But I've always wanted to know if there've ever been a Tornado F3 display in American, like an American airshow. You might know this.
Displayed at an American airshow?
Yeah. Because I know the Americans come over here, but I've never seen or heard of a Tornado F3 when it was in service, or Tornado F2 flying at an airshow.
In America?
In the States, yeah.
That's a good question. I can't answer that one.
Can't answer that now, yeah.
I'm not saying it. I can't think of a case when it's happened, but I might be wrong.
Yeah.
You know, because we did have deployments to the States. The aircraft used to go to Red Flag, used to go to Canada, to Cold Lake and other places there. So I'm not saying that an air display wasn't carried out in the States, but I just can't remember.
That's a very nerdy question, but one yet to be answered. But yeah, I've seen, like, there's a couple of the photos there of hunters and gnats. Which did you prefer to fly?
Well, I like them. That was Valley. The Gnat is a beautiful aircraft. I mean, I got over 1,000 hours on Gnats.
Wow.
And it, I was half the size I am now then.
And you survived though, that's the thing. I heard it was a bit of a death trap.
It was a beautiful aircraft. It was a real little sports car. It was beautiful to fly. It handled just beautifully. The view from it was lovely. The rate of roll was absolutely tremendous. It could go fast. It was like a bullet. It was just brilliant. Yeah, it did have one or two vices. If you could have an emergency, like a hydraulic system failure, if you didn't do the right drill, you could get yourself into all sorts of problems. And because it had swept wings, as with all swept wing aircraft stall in a different way from straight wing aircraft. So, and in fact, what it basically, I mean, the swept wing aircraft can enter the stall with far less warning than on a straight wing aircraft. That's caught one or two people out over the years. And the other thing I remember about the Gnat was on landing. The wings were like that. So, and it was such a little aircraft. The undercarriage was fairly close together. And on the braking units, we had things called Maxarette units. But on a wet runway, you could get into a real rock and roll situation going down the runway. So I've always said that to me, I mean, I knew the Gnat backwards. I knew how to fly it. I knew all its vices and things like that. So I could deal with them all. But it's the only aircraft I've flown when I've felt that I've almost had to fly it on the ground as well as in the air. Whereas the Phantom, for example, the Phantom was designed to land on an aircraft carrier.
So it was solid.
Just solid. Take a 4G thump into the deck. And the Phantom, we used to fly it down in a big crosswind, and the Phantom crosswind limit was up to 35 knots, as I recall. And you'd come down sort of down an approach, crabbing like that. And on the Tornado and the Lightning things, we kicked the drift off just before we touched down. On the Phantom, you just didn't do that. You just flew it in. You just hit the ground. You just flew it into the deck. There was no round out.
That must be nice.
You just flew it into the deck. It would straighten itself. It was a brute.
Yeah, going back to the Gnat though, that looks like if it was a nice sunny day as it is today when we're filming, you just want to put the Gnat on and go for a little spin. It looks like an aircraft like that.
Absolutely, and I did. You know, I've always been an hours hog. You know, I always just love my flying, and and there's nothing better than 4 trips a day to me. And,
wow.
and on the Gnat, flying at RAF Valley, which was a lovely place, particularly when the weather was good, it was just beautiful, right on the coast, and with the Snowdon mountain range in the background, and the whole of Wales, it was a flying paradise there, quite frankly. It really was. Well, if I'm quite honest, everywhere I've been has been a flying paradise, but some places test you more than others, like Germany, Gütersloh. The weather's great in summer, but come winter, it seems to be grey, all with poor visibility throughout the winter. So you had, well, it's the same as anywhere in Europe, quite frankly. You've got to be used to flying in bad weather, because you're going to get plenty of it in some places.
Yeah. And when you're in Germany, I'm guessing, did you have to stay down low? Because obviously when you go above the cloud, it's a nice day, but...
we used to do quite a lot of low flying there, but we used to do a lot of flying above the clouds too.
Okay, yeah.
Didn't matter. I mean, cloud, to be quite frank, we were all weather fighters, so the cloud didn't make any difference to us at all. And if we coming back from cloud, we'd just come down and, you know, penetrate the cloud and sort of intercept the glide path for landing, either than do sort of what we called a ground controlled approach to land, which was the controllers in the tower talking us down, or we'd intercept the instrument landing system, the localizer for the instrument landing system, and then just follow a set of bars, and that would just bring us down the glide path to our minimum height. If we couldn't see the runway at the minimum height, we'd have to overshoot and divert or whatever.
You might have mentioned this before, but obviously you've flown with a lot of squadrons. Do you have a favourite? I think I know what you're going to say.
Yes.
Can I guess?
Yes.
92?
Yes.
Okay, 1 point. And why was that your favourite? Was it
my first squadron.
First, yeah.
You never forget your first squadron, and you know I was lucky. These days it's taking far too long for operational pilots to get through their training and onto the squadrons. I hear some real horror stories. But when I joined the Air Force, I was too old to go to Cranwell, that I joined from South Africa, and had 2 weeks on board a Unicastle ship coming across here. Very pleasant, that's a story on its own. And then into officer training and then flying training, and I was on my first squadron 3 years after I climbed off the ship.
Wow.
That wouldn't happen today.
Oh, absolutely not.
And there I was. Quite frankly, I was a new boy. I was a junior pilot on the squadron. All the pilots lightning pilots on the squadron, who were all combat ready, they were my heroes. You know, they were my modern heroes.
Yeah, of course.
And I looked up to them. And you know, you say you start down the bottom, but you don't have any responsibility then, and you're learning, and it's just great fun, and you just remember everything. And you find yourself on a squadron, as 92 was. We had 12 aircraft, I think, and we had 15 pilots, and that's it. You know, you've got your engineers as well, but pilot-wise, you bond into a real band of brothers, because you socialise together, you work together, you socialise together, you learn to trust each other, you get to know each other's abilities. You've got to trust each other, because we're working together, we're flying as pairs, fours, goodness knows what, but you have to really come to know, trust and rely on your brother officers there.
Yeah, and I guess like your first squadron, you probably, because it's your first squadron, you take everything in, and and you become like friends, like socialise even with the partners or the
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the wives play a big part on the squadron, and the girlfriends too. And to this day, I mean, I was on 92 Lightnings at Goodisloe over 50 years ago, and last October I went back to Goodisloe with two of the pilots who were there with me in those days, with our wives, and we had a lovely visit to reminisce, to celebrate 50 years, and it was just a brilliant visit. We went round the base, which was derelict now, and but it brought back so many memories. And to this day, I mean, do this lockdown, I don't mind telling you, I've had 2 of my virtual happy hours have been with the guys who were on 92 Squadron with me 50 years ago.
Wow.
And the banter hasn't changed at all.
Well, you wouldn't want it to change, would you? No. That's great, yeah. So yeah, Rick, Dave wanted me to ask you a question about the trip over to Oman. Can you tell us about this?
Yeah, I can. It was quite a trip, actually. That was 1986. I think it was October, November time. And we were going to Oman to take place at an exercise called Safe Sarir. Swift Sword, translated Swift Sword 1, and part of it was to show our deployment capability from the UK. Yeah, we had a few practice trips with long trips around the UK with a tanker and what have you, and then we launched ourselves from Coningsby at 11 o'clock at night. So this was a trip that it took, it was about 10.5 hours. Which is the longest trip I've ever done, and I think probably the longest trip that Dave has ever done as well.
And this is the F3?
This is the F3, yeah. And there was 4 aircraft, and we went down with tanker support, obviously. I think we probably started with we were TriStar throughout. The TriStar at that stage was still getting its clearances done. So I just remember it very well. It was a memorable trip because 6 hours of the trip, of this 10.5 hours, was at night. And going over the Mediterranean was pretty exciting because there were some very major storms on that particular night. So it was pretty challenging stuff. The night, the storms, not to mention the everything else. We tanked a lot. We had to take on fuel. I don't know how many how much tanking we did, but it was a lot. And we got down there at the Commander-in-Chief, who at the time was Air Chief Marshal Sir Peter Harding. He'd said to me, Rick, you've got to be there 9:30 on the dot. We'll be in the VIP stands. Woe betide you if you're not. You'll be in trouble. So we were there at 9:30 on the dot. We overflew the VIPs. And landed with pretty sore bums. It had been a long trip, 10.5 hours, sitting on an ejection seat, with limited food to eat.
What did you eat actually before we moved?
They prepare a pack up for us with little sandwiches cut into little cubes. You just had a little cube of a sandwich, because you'd have to sort of take your mask off. And I mean, we pressurised cockpit, so if we were flying, most of the time we were flying, shall we say, about 30,000 feet. So pressurisation was half the high plus 2. We were pressurised, but so the actual cockpit was at about 17,000. So you needed oxygen. So you can't have the mask off your face very long. But you had food, and we could play music on the CD system.
And did you do that?
You could play games on the TV.
I've seen that. I've heard that before. Yeah.
So you kept yourself amused, and quite frankly, you had to refuel every now and again. You had to watch your fuel. You had to keep an eye on where the diversions were. So you kept pretty busy throughout, really. But it was a long sortie. It was a long sortie, the longest. But we were on time, and we had a lovely time down in Oman. And we did that. And Dave was with me on that one. As he was with me, again, a little while later, we went on a sales trip for the government to the Middle East. And again, this time I took 2 Tornadoes, F3s, with 2 Tornado GR1s as well. And we went through. No, sorry, it was just Tornado F3s on this one. Separately, I'm thinking. I went into Jordan with 2 GR1s, 2 F3s. That was an interesting sortie, interesting visit on its own. Got to know King Hussein pretty well. And then, but a little later on, we went on a trip on behalf of the British government on a defence sales mission, and we went with 2 Tornadoes, flew them down to Bahrain, the UAE, Qatar, and we went somewhere else as well. But we had a lovely time, sort of.
Not a bad little trip, is it? Must have had some fun times.
So at that time, I mean, it was challenging stuff. In the 2 years, from I first flew the aircraft, the Tornado F2, in January, February '85, to us being declared operational to NATO, with the whole squadron worked up and combat ready on the 31st December 1986. That was 2 years. We were completely ready. We'd done it all. I won't say it was easy. It wasn't. It was pretty hard work. But on top of that, we had all these other things to deal with, because we were the new boys on the block, as it were, and we were being shown to the world. And so, hence the trip to Oman, the trip to Jordan, the trip to the Middle East. So there were the Queen's birthday fly past. All these came on top. So it just added to the challenge.
Yeah, of course.
But we were can-do people. We did it. We said we could do it. We did everything. We never turned down an opportunity.
Of course, yeah. Why would you, I suppose?
Exactly.
But did you ever fly in formation with any of the aircraft of their countries, like for promotional stuff?
Yeah. I've got a lovely photograph. See that thing that says office pantry over there? Those are all photographs up there. Somewhere in that little lot, I've got a photograph taken because when, for example, we went into Qatar, we were met by mirages coming out from the Doha,
Right.
the Qatari Air Force, who came out to meet us, and then escorted us into Doha.
That's
in
pretty
Qatar.
cool.
And one of the mirages was actually flown by an ex-Lightning pilot,
What a great connection.
ex-RAF pilot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mm.
Oh, great connection. So how long do you say was your longest trip? Like, was it 10 hours?
10 and a half.
10 and a half?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I mean, I went to Singapore and that was 12 hours and that was enough, but I can imagine in a tornado cockpit, that would have been...
That's 10 and a half, sitting on the same seat throughout, strapped in throughout.
Yeah. But then it's quite cool you're in a tornado.
To me, it was just a lovely opportunity to be able to go and do things like that. To go to, that was my first flight into Oman. To be going to Oman, to see Oman, to learn about Oman, was just a thrill.
So, like, I'll take again a couple of pictures here, but there's a couple of great kind of cartoony pictures. Can you describe them for us, Rick? Because they're great.
I can. The one down the bottom there, that was presented me at the end of my tour as Inspector of Flight Safety for the RAF. And amongst other things, my staff used to publish the magazine Air Clues from there. So, you know, I had people working for me who were good at art and were cartoonists. This is what they pulled out for me. So now I was always been a big golfer, hence the golf clubs. And you see that I've got my flying suit on because I used to fly everything everywhere. That was a fantastic job, And then it was also a people job. You know, my whole life was spent flying aircraft and meeting people and travelling around the place. Brilliant. My deputy, he ran the office mainly.
Yes.
and on top of it, you can see the aircraft, the Lightning, the Phantom, and the Tornado, the three high-performance jets I flew. That's that one. The top one, that was presented to me just a few years ago. I founded, back in 2000, an organisation called the Aviation Focus Group. I was the founder and first chairman. I was chairman for about 20 years. And the president was an ex-chief of the Air Staff, Sir Richard Johns. And when I handed over to my successors, and Dick Johns did as well, they presented me with that lovely cartoon. Again, you can see which aircraft I'm sitting on.
Of course, Lightning, yes.
But
there's the bottles under the wing there, I've just noticed.
Yes.
That's great. But just going off, like you said, you're a people person. I'm guessing, obviously, you probably come across them in your career, but you just think, especially with aircrew, you just think everyone's the same, everyone likes each other. But was that, and you don't have to name names, but just in general, was there like people you just like, I just don't like this bloke or girl or whatever like that?
Yes.
And how did you deal with them in a professional manner? If you
in a professional manner,
yes,
that's a good way of answering it.
Yeah. But what about socially, or do you just distance yourself from?
I think I've never really had a problem on any of the squadrons I've been on. Squadron-wise, no. Where I've had been working with people I haven't liked, have mainly been sort of when I've been in sort of staff jobs, quite frankly, away from the flying side, and there I have had one or two involvements with people who I didn't like and didn't respect at all.
Really?
Yeah.
But
unfortunately,
obviously you have to keep that professional thing, so you can't.
So professional, yeah.
That must be quite hard.
Well, you're professional. I mean, I look back at it and I just feel exceedingly grateful that almost everyone I've met in my life I've got on with.
Yeah, that's great. That's testimony to you, I suppose. But there's also like that weird a sword. I can't tell from here. I want to know what that is. I didn't actually.
What's
right
that?
At the end, it looks like the triangle.
Oh, that's
is that a sword?
That's the Leeming sword. That's,
right, I just couldn't see it from here.
When I left Leeming as station commander, I was presented with that sword in memory of for my time as the commander of RAF Leeming, and that's the Leeming sword, and the motto underneath it says "straight and true." And that's what that is.
That's brilliant. That's cool. I didn't notice that before. I'm gonna have to get a picture of that for you folks. But yeah. Moving on, like going to like the social media side of things. Do you ever get like asked to do like podcasts? I know like we've done a few things together. But do you get much like interaction or even the magazines, for instance, to do articles and stuff like that?
I've done plenty of articles for the magazines. I did one for Aeroplane only a little while ago, in fact.
Oh, really?
So I do get that.
Oh,
yeah,
I think you told me about
and
that.
overseas as well. Yeah, I've still got the airplane magazine here. I think I've certainly got it.
I think I bought it because I think you mentioned.
I think you probably did.
Yeah, I think I did because you were like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I've done an article." I think I did.
There's a seven-page article in there about me. Yeah, which I thought was very good.
I did buy it. Yes.
So yes, I do. And I'm always very willing to do that. Quite frankly, I'm very willing to talk about anything, anytime, anywhere.
Exactly.
Quite
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah, because you do quite a lot of talks, or you try and get involved in stuff like that.
I do a lot of talks. In fact, I mean, I had a lot of talks planned this year, which got mainly cancelled. I am doing a talk this week. They've organised I was doing 2 talks on the Battle of Britain. One's cancelled, the other is taking place, but they've organised the social distancing in a way that they can do it.
Yeah. And so where's that at? Like, and can people? Is there any tickets left and stuff like that?
Well, there's the one. I was going to be speaking tomorrow night at the RAF Club, in fact, on Battle of Britain Day, but the plans have been changed. I'm still going to the RAF Club tomorrow night for dinner, but it's rather different now. And then on Thursday, I'm giving a talk on the Battle of Britain at the Victory Services Club in London, also.
God, you do get about, right? It's like, one thing is, like, the RAF Club. Like, I generally know what it is, but is it a hotel just for RAF personnel, or can someone like me stay there?
Well, I wouldn't call it a hotel.
I've heard it was a hotel or a bar.
No,
Okay.
it's a club.
It's a club, right?
It's a club.
Okay.
It's a club, and primarily for RAF officers and current serving RAF officers and retired RAF officers. Those are the main. That's what we call voting members. And then, but we have a lot of affiliated members who are people who've done something for the RAF,
Right.
or had an association with the RAF,
Right.
who can come in. We have, and then the wives. We've got associate members, 8,000 of those, who are the spouses of
course, yeah.
people like me. And then there are university air squadrons, air cadets. We're open to aircrew from the Army and the Navy, and also to fellows of the Royal Aeronautical Society and liverymen of the Honourable Company of Air Pilots. So we do have various categories.
It's like, okay, I thought it was just like, yeah.
The membership, we've got 25,000 members.
Wow.
100. They've got 110 bedrooms, banqueting rooms. It's a great place, and the art they've got there is just.
I've seen some of the pictures.
Fantastic.
It looks absolutely amazing. I bet the bar's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm well. Put it this way, I was vice chairman there for quite a number of years, so I'm pretty well known there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty well known inside the bar and outside the bar.
Yeah, that's great because I've seen like that RAF Club, and I've seen pictures taken, and it just looks like one day I want to get there. Like, if there's any chance I can kind of work my way in.
Well, let me know when you're in town. I'll take you there for lunch or dinner or whatever.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, I'd love to do it.
Yeah.
Just to experience it and see the art. Because I'm guessing you can't just like me just walk in and be like, oh, can I have a pint in there?
No,
whatever.
No, you have to be invited in.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a bit of a dream of
But
mine.
right, they've obviously, like all the clubs. I mean, they've had significant problems this year. So yeah. So, future's rather uncertain at the
I know,
moment.
yeah, you can't guarantee anything. But yeah, just going back to like flying, what aircraft have you flown in the back of? Because obviously you've mentioned you flew the Viggen there. What else have you flown?
In the back of?
The back of, or in the front of? That's not, your main RAF career.
Well, I mean, take when I was in America, for example, I used to fly. I flew quite a lot in the F-16 in America. The one aircraft I didn't fly, which I really wanted to fly, was the F-15.
Oh, you didn't get that chance.
No, I know you got to think about the F-14.
I love the F-14.
And I'm working on that. I've got.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I'm still trying to hunt him down. The guy I'm after to introduce you to.
Yes.
But and in America I flew the Intruder.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I flew the Intruder.
That's a cool plane.
The Intruder from a naval air station, Whidbey Island, which is on the up near Seattle.
Not Whitby up there, no.
No. But I'll never forget. That's a trip I'll never forget as well. I was in the back seat.
Yeah, tell us about that, because I love that plane.
No, not the back seat. I was it was side by side.
Yes. Yeah, side by side.
But we had a fire. We had a fire warning during the sortie.
Oh, really?
Went on. So tighten your straps.
Oh, you're like, oh, bugger.
And unfortunately, I didn't have to eject. We did have to divert. We landed in the middle of the desert somewhere.
Really?
A place called Yukuma or somewhere like that. Anyway, that was an experience. I flew the C5 over there. Yeah, the big.
The Galaxy.
Yep, the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I flew it on a low-level sortie around, and I flew the whole sortie around Lake Tahoe, and I flew it. And I must admit, it was a great experience. We were flying down to 250, 500 feet, and I did the circuits, I did the landing. All I'll say was, what did surprise me with that aircraft was just how delightful it was to fly.
Yeah, I thought it would be like a big...
No, it was delightful. It was really nice to fly. And even on landing, even though I was landing an aircraft from about the 4th floor of a block, you know,
Yeah.
you get plenty of warning, and it handled beautifully. Rather like I've been surprised. I mean, the other aircraft that, because I mentioned when I was Inspector of Flight Safety and I flew everything, and I'd always been a fighter man, and obviously, to me, fighter pilots were kings. But I will say one thing that I saw in that job, having flown everything, was just how demanding some of the other roles in the Air Force were.
Yeah.
And you know, I had my eyes open when I flew with the helicopter boys and girls in Northern Ireland, for example. And when I flew low level with the Special Forces people,
Wow.
night over Wales using NVGs down to 250 feet. That was pretty challenging stuff. And even flying with the Nimrod out over the sea, dirty dark sea, down to 200 feet.
Oh my God.
Challenging stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, what was the F-16 like? Would you have liked to got into a let's say a dogfight in the F-3?
I've been in dogfights with the F-16.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't get into a close dogfight with the F-16.
Yeah.
Like anything. I mean, as I think talking in the last Q&A session, you know, you learn to know your adversaries, whatever they are, what their weaknesses are. You play to their weaknesses and your strengths.
Yeah.
Not their strengths.
Exactly. Yeah. But have you seen that great? Well, it's a pretty interesting documentary. I think it's called Top Guns.
Yeah.
Is that where I think it's like 5 Squadron or 29 Squadron go to? Is it Green Flag or something?
I have seen it. Yeah.
That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of blokes here knowing that.
I think that was Red Flag.
Was it Red Flag?
Yeah, I think so. It might have been Green Flag, but yeah, I have. No, that was good.
Yeah.
But other aircraft. I mean, of course, as an instructor, I flew in the back seat as captain and first pilot on the Gnat all the time. When I was instructing.
Yeah.
And the view from the back seat is not the greatest view in the world, but it's a damn sight better than the view from the back of a Phantom.
Yeah. Was it really that bad? Because everyone
it was difficult. You from the Phantom. The Gnat you had more view because you could see around the ejection seat in front just about. But the Phantom, you literally had to sort of move your head, fly the aircraft, and crane your eye sort of down there to sort of see where you were going.
Really?
It was challenging.
And obviously back then, what were the helmets like? Because I'm guessing they were quite heavy as well, like compared to the new ones.
Yeah, probably not the combat helmet that came in. Yeah.
Yeah, because we looked at it pretty heavy. But you didn't answer my question before. I said, which did you prefer, flying the Hunter or the Gnat?
Yeah. The answer is I enjoyed flying them both. But I was going to qualify it by saying, Hunter-wise, and I really enjoyed flying the single-seat Hunters, the Mark 6s that we had, because the single-seat Hunter was a bit different from the two-seat Hunter. It had a bigger engine. It was just to me, it was just a nicer aircraft all round. So I really enjoyed flying the single-seat Hunters. And I really enjoyed flying the Gnat. Which I prefer, to be quite frank, I like them both. I did.
So yeah, like the two-seater Hunter and obviously the two-seater Lightning. Could you see a big difference in performance to the single-seat versions of both?
No. The Lightning, no. The two-seater Lightnings, the T4s and the T5s, no, the performance was very similar.
So
they were treated as operational aircraft as well.
Oh, would they really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But how did you find? that training thing of like, do you think tandem's better or side by side? Which would you prefer, or which did you prefer actually? I should say.
I think by choice I would go tandem. That's only because I like having my own cockpit.
Yeah, you don't want to share it.
You know, but I don't know. You just get. That's by choice, but
yeah.
You get used to either, quite frankly. It didn't worry me whether I had side-by-side or tandem.
So I think, like, obviously I'm not a pilot or anything, but I'd feel more nervous, someone looking over me constantly, you know what switches, whatever I'm doing, you know, side by side. I think I would get nervous about that, but you probably don't think about that when you're going through training. But just as an outsider, that would...
Well, you do think about it. You do think about your performance all the time.
Yeah, it's like, oh, is this right?
But I think... I just used to feel sort of with the tandem, you had a bit more independence.
Yeah, that's probably a better way of putting it. So, like, yeah, how many hours did you get on the Hunter? Because you said you got over 1,000.
I've only got about 250 on the Hunter.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah. Well, I've got 1,000 hours on the Gnat, the Lightning, the Phantom, and the Tornado. So, not very many people have got 1,000 hours on 4 different types.
I've got 45 minutes on a Chipmunk.
Oh, I've got plenty of Chipmunk flying too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. I've been flying with the air experience flights for years and years and years. I mean, Chipmunk-wise, when I joined the Air Force, I didn't do any Chipmunk flying before I flew jets. I am what they call a straight-through jet jockey. The first aircraft I flew when I joined the Air Force was a Jet Provost. And the first time I touched an aircraft like the Chipmunk was when I was at Coningsby in 1985, I think it was, and that was 20 years after I joined the Air Force. I've flown plenty of piston engine aircraft since.
So what would what would the point be of like flying that Chipmunk at that time if you've gone through? Was it just like a job?
Because I was doing a bit of flying with the air experience flight.
Oh right, it's not like just like a little job.
And at Coningsby at the time, there were it was the summer, and there were Air Training Corps cadets on camps there, and I just went to help and became one of the pilots that as well as doing all my other stuff, I'd go and, as a bit of a sideline, go and fly the cadets.
Oh, brilliant!
And I've been doing that ever since. Really, well, not now. My flying came to an abrupt halt when I was 65. I flew with the air experience flight at Benson for many years. By this stage on the Bulldog and then the Grob Tutor, and I used to really enjoy it. And I just got an extension from age 65 to 66 when the boss down there called me up and sort of said, Rick, don't bother coming in on Sunday because they've changed the rules. And all of a sudden anybody over the age of 65 was no longer allowed to fly solo in one of Her Majesty's aircraft, which meant I couldn't take air cadets. So mine and about 40 other guys, because there's a lot of these AEFs all over the country, our flying came to an abrupt halt, and oh boy, was I annoyed. Was I annoyed.
Yeah, I bet you didn't show it though, Rick.
I did show it actually.
Yeah, just be sarcastic there. Yeah, so Rick, what are you currently up to at the moment? What's the plans for the future? Because it seems like you've got so many things going on.
Well, I think my plans for the future, as I say, I've always got things going on. Never short of things to do. I've got loads of little plans. One, I'm thinking of a second book.
Brilliant.
Actually, in fact, I've started writing a second book. I was hoping I'd achieve more by now during lockdown, but to be quite frank, I've been so busy that I've now said, looking, the winter's going to be fairly quiet, I think.
Tell them Zoom happy hours, Rick.
Well, that's right. You're right there. So I think I'll finish my book over the winter.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want to take up. I've got a studio attached to the house as well. I'll show it to you on the way out.
Brilliant.
So I want to do some painting. I want to take up painting again.
All right.
It's another thing I want to do. You see that I've got all my. I want to get all my photographs digitized.
Yeah, there's a big pile there, guys.
And catalogued. I mean, I've got a load of albums as well. I've got so much stuff, and it's really good stuff too. It's really good stuff. So I want to do that. And I've got loads of other little projects and things that. So I don't see.
You're not short on stuff to do.
I'm not short of stuff to do, and you mentioned it. virtual happy hours.
Yeah.
I mean, my virtual happy hour tonight is with Duxford, with the guys who are sort of part of the flying side as flying display directors or on the flying control committee, and we have a regular Monday get together to talk through things. A lot of it associated with air displays.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it sort of just banter. We've got one chap who comes on it, Andy Stewart, in fact. We always make sure we talk about lightnings because he dislikes that intensely.
Yes, that's really the main subject. Yeah, but like, yeah, the picture-wise, I think getting them scanned or digitized, that would be brilliant, because there's probably some absolute gems in there that I've never been seen before.
And I've got, talk about things never been seen. You see, I've got DVDs. I've got a lot of DVDs down here.
Yeah.
That I haven't watched yet, which I want to watch.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen Spitfire yet. Apparently, that's supposed to be really good.
That is good. I went to the premiere of that in London.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, because everyone.
I know the director who made the film.
Really? Yeah, because the footage looked really well made.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Really liked it.
Don't see any Top Gun down there. Yeah.
There's probably somewhere. I mean, you see the one on top. That's of the black.
Oh yes.
That's a 2-hour video. That was really good. I enjoyed that. That's the one I've just finished watching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I've got those. I've got a lot of reading to do. And that's before I even start thinking of other things.
Yeah. I think that's good. I'm just looking up there, just Jaguar. I'm guessing that stuff to do with Jaguar.
That's my car.
Oh, right, that's fine. I didn't know you liked the Jaguar that much. But how did your wife take all this? Like, you being so busy and stuff like. Is she sick of it?
Delighted. She's delighted.
She's delighted, yeah.
Particularly sort of when I built the man cave here, which my son-in-law and son mainly sort of, I bought it and they put it up for me and put the base in. It's got a very solid base under here.
Yeah, it's like.
So I was really, I could do a bit more. I could do an extension. In fact, I could do with a bar here.
Good call.
And probably a loo as well.
Yeah, a loo, and he's got a wine fridge in here. So
yeah, I've got a wine fridge. I've got everything here is me. This is me. But there's more to me than what's here. But so when Tina made me promise, she said, "Well, when you got your man cave, I'd like a new kitchen." And she's got a new kitchen now. She got the better deal. It was a bloody side more expensive than this. But it's good as well. She says, "I'm very happy with him out there. He's out of the house," and she's also got my old study.
Which
is now her study.
Right.
So, and social distancing, perfect.
So works well for both parties.
So I think it works very well.
So while we wrap up this happy hour episode, do you have a local pub that you like to go and get a nice beer in?
Yes.
Where's that? What's it called?
The pub, well, I used to go to a pub called the Greyhound, which is about a mile from here. But that's been sort of, since lockdown, it hasn't fully opened yet. So I go to another pub, which I'm really quite like, called the Frog and Wicket. Down in the next door village of Eversley. Mm-hmm. It overlooks the cricket field down there.
Perfect.
So it's a perfect setting. But yeah, there's plenty of pubs around here that I do go to. I do go to the pub. And in fact, Friday night, talking about happy hour, and my children know it, and I really enjoy going to the pub on a Friday night with my eldest daughter and my son. So we normally have a happy hour together.
I think that's great. Yeah, that's great. Well, Rick, thank you very much for inviting me in. It's been a pleasure chatting to you and a great happy hour. So thank you very much.
It's been lovely to see you here, and as far as I'm concerned, you're very welcome here anytime. I always enjoy speaking with you, and I think you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you very much. And next time I'm in the area, we'll go for a pint at the Frog and Wicket.
Yeah, it's on me.
Perfect.
And don't forget the offer about the RAF Club in town.
Oh yes, I'll take you up on that one day, Rick. Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much.